Welcome to Week 9 of the Mercer County Football Show with the Trentonians' Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. This show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Coming down to it, Rich, we go into the last week of the season here, but before we get into some of our predictions and things that are going on this weekend, we do have a couple of sad things that we do want to know.
Yeah, we'd like to pass along two serious incidents. We want to send condolences out to the Costello family at the sudden passing of their son, Jimmy. Jimmy is a 2007 Steiner graduate who passed away suddenly on Saturday. Very tragic. And Jimmy was a member, he was a standout for the Steiner football teams back in the mid-2000s, and then he just never got a break when he got to college. All kinds of injuries, and he had suffered through a bad accident, and the poor kid never got a break. And I grew up with Jimmy's dad, the Costellos. They're a great family, nice people, and I just feel terrible about this. Mike Costello is his cousin, and he's the he's the offensive coordinator for Hamilton West. So this is shaking Mike pretty bad too. So we really want to send condolences out to the whole family and really heartfelt sympathy. The other thing is Notre Dame defensive back T.J. Drahushik suffered a really serious car injury last week. And the Irish were all playing for him. He's in the hospital, really serious. I texted with his teammate Jake Liecka today, and they said that he said they're still not allowed to go visit TJ, but from what he's heard, he's making some steady progress. So that's good news. So we really send out speedy get well recovery to TJ, and hope everything's okay with him. So, it brings you back to the real world sometimes, Sean.
It does. It's a reminder that, we get very serious about everything that happens out on the field each week in Mercer County, but, there are bigger things, too, and there's things that their teammates, as you said, they're going to be playing for these guys.
Sure, yeah.
This weekend. We do have a couple of games on the WBCB Sports Network this weekend. On Friday night, we'll bring you Northern Burlington at Hopewell Valley at 7 p.m. We'll go live with the Trentonian pregame show at 6:45. on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. And then on Saturday at 2 p.m., it's Notre Dame at Nottingham, also on 1077 The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. Looking back at this past weekend, we were going over the PowerPoints last week, and there's a lot of fringe teams that are starting to play their way out of it, teams that maybe are playing their way into it. And to me, I think one of the biggest surprises and a team that needed a win was Allentown, and they got that over Hopewell Valley.
Excuse me. Allentown did a great job. They clinched the playoff berth. Jordan Winston was vintage Jordan Winston. He ran for 299 yards and 2 touchdowns, had a big interception, did everything that he needed to do, and the Allentown late in the game, it was still a close game, and Allentown had a touchdown taken away. I never saw Jay Graber so upset. He was halfway out on the field arguing, but Allentown didn't even let that bother him. They just went back, took the penalty, and then still went back down and scored a touchdown to kind of put the game away. Their defense did a great job. They held Hopewell's Joey Mordino to under 60 yards rushing after he had gone for over 200 the previous 2 weeks. So Allentown really stepped up to the plate and really did a nice job this weekend and clinched the playoff berth. So good for Allentown, good for the Redbirds.
The other game that we had on the WBCB Sports Network this past weekend, that Princeton-Robbinsville game, it ended up being a pretty close game. As you were saying, Princeton they took control early.
Yeah, it was 38-27, but that was a little deceiving. Princeton really dominated the whole game. Robbinsville got a couple late touchdowns. Elijah McNeil got rolling. But that game, Rory Hellstrom put on a show on that game with over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. And the other thing that Chris Ermer and I just couldn't stop talking about was their sophomore kicker, Jacob Green. Kid was unbelievable. He was 5 for 5 on extra points. I think he had a 35-yard field goal. Put 7 kickoffs either in or through the end zone. Robbinsville never got to return a kick, and he kicked off a lot.
You don't see that at high school football.
No, and he's a sophomore. And he plays, he's a receiver, and he plays defense too.
Really?
And he also put 3 punts inside the 10 and put 1 at like the 1-yard line. I mean, the kid, he's a weapon as a kicker. He really is. You don't really gush about kickers all that much in high school, but with Jacob Green, he was something. So, Princeton did a good job in that game. They came out, they established stuff early, they got their running game going, and their defense did a pretty good job for most of the game, and then, like I said, McNeil started going off a little bit late in the game, but by then it was already in hand.
We're going to step aside, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go over the rest of the games that happened in Mercer County this past weekend, and we'll have our Player of the Week and Team of the Week here on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers, serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety, and the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by Fish4Scores. That's fish4scores.com, and on Twitter at fish4scores. Here with Rich Fisher of Fish4Scores. Fish, we're getting to the end of the football season, but always a lot going on in Hamilton Township Athletics.
Yeah, Steiner Soccer still going strong. The Spartan girls won yesterday 7-1 in their opening round of the state tournament against Northern Burlington. The boys play Tom's River East today in their first round game. They're seeded 4th, so they're hoping to have a good run. So soccer's alive and well at Steiner, at least for this week. So let's see how far they can go.
All right, back to the other football on the football field here in America. Mercer County Football Show, Week 9 with Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman, and we were talking about some of the games from this past weekend. Another team that really needed a win was the Trenton Tornadoes, now 5-3 on the year. They got a win over an Eastern team that admittedly has had a tough year. They're now 0-8, but a 39-12 win for Trenton.
Yeah, Trenton got the win. I mean, got the playoff berth. They stayed up. I think I forget, 3rd maybe in the PowerPoints. I got it in here somewhere, but Trenton went down and took care of business. I mean, Eastern was a winless team. Trenton could have looked past them, and they didn't. They went down and thumped them. So, good focus by the Tornadoes. 3 in a row for Trenton.
Another game this was maybe the biggest game of the weekend. You could argue it ended up as a very high scoring game, 40-27. Notre Dame defeats Steiner in a matchup of two teams that it's an interesting one because both teams were expected to maybe not be the best teams in the area, and they're looking like two of the better teams in Mercer County. Right,
and this game too is the score's a little misleading. At 40-27, Notre Dame pretty much put it away early, and then Steiner got some late comeback touchdowns. Steiner was done in by kids from their own town. Jake Lietka, who would have gone to Steiner, the Hamilton Square kid, he returned an interception for a touchdown, caught a touchdown pass. Derek Adizio, another Hamilton Square kid, scored on a 13-yard touchdown run. And Tommy Hackett, another Hamilton Township resident, 55-yard interception return for a touchdown. So I'm not sure if Tommy would have gone to Steiner or not. I think he might have. But the 3 of them would have been at Steiner. So, that was almost like a mini Hamilton-Steiner game or something like that with so many of the township kids on there. But, Notre Dame is in a tough division with the PowerPoint, so they really did need that win. And, Steiner can still get a home game for the playoffs. We'll talk about that later.
A team that needed a win but didn't get it, Rancocas Valley, 4-3 on the year. They fall to Cherokee this past weekend, 35-12. And Rancocas Valley, they had a tough start to the season. They got that retroactive win, so it looked like maybe things were going pretty well for them. But now a loss to Cherokee, going to make it pretty tough for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know what to say about that. It's just you win. You got to win at this point. There's no, you can't really afford a loss. So, to me, the big game of the week was West Windsor North beating Ely 31-28. I mean, this is a team that I saw them opening day get beat 21-0 by Steiner and said this is going to be a long year. What a job by Jeff Riley and his staff to get that team. I'm pretty sure they're in the playoffs with that win. So, it was a big high-scoring affair. C.J. Marquise had another big game, 184 yards rushing. Damian Doggett and Dasmere Harper each had over 120 for Ewing. So that had to be a fun game to watch, I would think, just looking at the final score, 31-28.
Yeah, it's a shame. I wish I'd gotten to see that one because it does seem, and I was looking at some of the stats, a lot of guys in that game put up some big numbers, had good games.
Yep.
Elsewhere around Mercer County over the weekend, in your neck of the woods, a Hamilton-Nottingham matchup, 7-6 win for Hamilton in that one to improve to 3-4 on the year.
Yeah, that was an ugly game. I mean, that was the only touchdown Hamilton scored was on a 65-yard interception return by Chris Stout. And Richard Vise hit the extra point, which seemed like academic at the time, but then Nottingham got a 50-yard touchdown pass from Mike Malagrino, who was reinserted at quarterback at second half, and made it 7-6 with hardly any time left, and then Nottingham missed the extra point. So that's horrible. You never like to see a game end like that on a kid having something like that happen. And and I don't want to bring up his name, but Malagrino said it after the game because you can't blame him. They've been shut out 3 straight games before that. This kid hasn't even attempted an extra point in like almost 4 games.
That's a good point.
He had he was a little stale on something like that. So it was an exciting game, as it usually is between those two. But 2 offenses that are really, really kind of struggling, and 2 defenses that played very well.
A couple other games that happened in Mercer County this past weekend. The tough seasons continue for West Windsor Plainsboro South, falling 49-9 on the road to Northern Burlington, and also for the Lawrence Cardinals, who fall to 0-8. They fell to Heightstown 20-13.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's just, got to keep plugging.
Hey, but you know what? You plug along, and then maybe you turn into Robbinsville, who they had quite the struggle. They're now they've lost their last 2 games, but against good teams and still putting up some points. Against Princeton, they lost 38, but they did put up 27, and things are certainly looking up for Robbinsville. Elsewhere in the area, I actually believe that is all our games from this past weekend. So why don't we get to our player and team of the week segment here on the Mercer County Football Show. Would you like to go first?
Sure.
I feel like I always go first.
I'll take the honors. Yes. Age before beauty, brother. I got to go with those Northern Knights. I mean, they are just eking out Allentown. It was a toss-up between them, but West Windsor North, they lost their quarterback, Kevin Murphy. He's a great quarterback. And like I said, they got, they really weren't in that game opening day. And for them to come back and 4-4 and make the playoffs, just a tremendous job, a tremendous win over Ewing in a game they had to have. And they got it. They went out and got it. So, this was stuff that people never thought possible. They don't have a lot of numbers. They don't have a lot of depth. But as we said, man, Riley and his staff just doing a tremendous job. And
they started off, they had that loss to Steiner, then giving up 81 points to Allentown. You say, okay, well, they gave up 81 points. They're, write them off.
Right,
but then they've played extremely well.
Done what they've had to do.
My team of the week this week is going to be the Trenton Central Tornadoes. They were not looking great a couple of weeks ago when they had a win taken away from them way back from the first week in the season, but they didn't find out until just a couple weeks ago that they would be losing that game. But despite that being taken away, they've now won 3 games in a row by a combined score of 105-12.
Yeah.
And they are crushing everybody. And a couple of rivalry games in there, too, with Hamilton and Nottingham mixed in. They lost to Notre Dame, but only by 2 points. They beat West Windsor Plainsboro North. I mean, this is a Trent team that's been playing very well, so they have to be my team of the week. And they also got a pretty good performance out of, they're that team that likes to move the ball around a little bit as far as who gets it. And I was thinking of picking Tamir Richardson as my player of the week because he did have a great game. So I do want to mention him here, even though I didn't pick him as my player of the week. 11 carries, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nobody has even gotten more than 9 carries in any of the last 2 Trenton wins before this game. So to get 11 carries, and then he did something with it. A good game for Trenton, and they are my team of the week. So what's your player of the week, Rich?
Well, my player of the week, it came down to 2 different people, but your player of the week is the other one I was going to pick, so I will just go with who I'm picking, and I'm going with Rory Hellstrom. He, Princeton running back, he put on a show. He ran for 236 yards and 4 touchdowns. He made some moves that just blew me away. That kid, the way he can cut back and change direction, and he would just do these slick little moves that would get guys to fly past him, and then he'd head the other way. just so much fun to watch. The only other time I saw him this year, Steiner did a pretty good job on him, so I didn't get to see vintage Rory Hellstrom. I saw it on Saturday, and man, was it fun to watch. He had a heck of a game, and he also returned kicks, and he also played defense, and did his usual Rory Hellstrom thing. So kudos to Rory. Congratulations, he's my player of the week.
My player of the week, another player that we mentioned a little bit earlier, Allentown's Jordan Winston. 30 carries, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, had the interception on defense. I mean, what can you say? In a game that Allentown needed against a team that we were talking about as maybe the best team in Mercer County,
right.
Going into this past week, and Allentown gets a big win when they've had some struggles, but Jordan Winston came up big. I mean, how often do you see a quarterback get the ball 30 times as a runner?
Right. And go sick. He had like a 67-yard run on one thing.
He's outstanding. Incredible athlete. He didn't throw the ball in that game. He only attempted 1 pass.
Right.
But he can throw the ball, and he has this season at times. But what he did on the ground and that win for Allentown, absolutely huge. So Jordan Winston is my player of the week. I think that we picked some good ones this week.
I don't think we could have gone wrong.
All right. We are going to take another quick break. When we come back, we will preview the coming week of action here on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.
Discover the dealer for the people, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. One of the region's finest state-of-the-art service facilities for all makes and models. A service facility so good, local school districts get their buses serviced at Haldeman. Police fleets, local municipalities get their cars and trucks serviced at Haldeman. From oil changes to tire sales, Haldeman Ford services all makes and models. And they offer tires for just $10 over cost on name brand tires like Goodyear and Pirelli. And their waiting room offers complimentary food. And there's a special Wi-Fi room available for your use. So no matter where you purchase your car, get it serviced at Haldeman Ford, the dealership for the people on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. I'm Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering and can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365. 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29 in nearby Ewing Township.
Welcome back to Week 9 of the Mercer County Football Show with the Trentonians' Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman, and this show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Coming up on the WBCB Sports Network this weekend on Friday, Northern Burlington at Hopewell Valley at 7 p.m. on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 107.7thebronx.com. And on Saturday, we'll come back with Notre Dame at Nottingham at 2 p.m. on 107.7 The Bronx and 107.7thebronx.com. And that Friday game, Northern Burlington at Hopewell Valley, should be a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, it should be. Northern Burlington is 4-3 overall, 2-2 in the Patriot division. Hopewell 6-2 and 3-1. So the Bulldogs had their 6-game winning streak snapped by Allentown, so they'd like to get some mojo back before they head into the playoffs next week. And they also have a shot at winning a co-division championship. If they can beat the Greyhounds and Burlington, then Ewing can maybe upset Burlington Township. That would give Hopewell a share of the title. But Northern's on a roll. Northern's won 3 of their last 4 games. They're coming off a really big win over West Windsor South. They put up a lot of points. The Greyhounds like to run the ball. They use a lot of different runners. Moses Vance and Lawrence Garner are their main guys. So, and I'm sure Hopewell would like to get Joey Imordino back on track. he's an outstanding running back, and he got held to 56 last week by a tough Allentown defense. So you'd like to get him going in a positive direction too, heading into the playoffs, and keep everybody healthy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if I'm Northern Burlington, the last thing that I wanted to see was Hopewell Valley lose to Allentown last week, because Hopewell Valley's going to come out, I think, a little angry and wanting to come back and get a win against Northern
I'm sure
Burlington.
you're right. I'm sure you're right.
Then, as I mentioned, the Saturday game, Notre Dame at Nottingham. It's been a tough stretch for the North Stars. They looked really good early in the season, but they've had their struggles. Notre Dame has been one of the better teams in Mercer County all season long.
Yeah, and and Notre Dame's, again, they're still fired up. They're playing for their teammate who's in the hospital, so you got that. Notre Dame's 5-3 overall, 2-2 in the Colonial Division. Nottingham's 2-6. They've lost 5 straight. They're 1-3 in the Colonial Division. The big question here is going to be who's going to be the quarterback for Nottingham, because for the past game and a half, John Adams he alternated Dari Felix and Deontay West at quarterback and moved Mike Malagrino to running back because Ben Fair's been out. But the offense struggled. It was in negative yardage at halftime against Hamilton, so he put Malagrino back in at quarterback after the second half. And, Malagrino moved the team a little bit. Malagrino told me after the game he always was a running back. He became a quarterback because Nottingham needed one when he was a freshman. So he likes running back, but he'll do quarterback. And, they snapped that scoreless streak. Nottingham had been shut out 3 straight times and almost a fourth. But when I asked Mike any condolence, any consolation, he said not at all. He goes, we lost the game. So, Nottingham is just killing themselves with penalties and mistakes and things like that. Notre Dame, hey, they just want to, none of this has playoff bearing because both teams have played their 8 games. But Notre Dame wants to go into the playoffs with a win, and they want to get, and they want to try to keep everybody healthy too. So,
Right.
That's what that comes down to.
For Nottingham, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Malagrino at quarterback, but if we see him run a lot out of the quarterback position. They've done that here and there. I know when we saw him play Allentown earlier this year.
Oh, he usually does.
They ran him a lot.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see something along those lines for the North Stars.
Well, he's a runner. I mean, he can run.
Yeah,
So.
he can throw too. I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen him throw
right.
some really good passes, but he certainly has the capabilities to run.
Mm-hmm.
Other games going on this weekend in Mercer County. On Friday night, Rancocas Valley plays at Lenape. Hamilton will play at Heightstown. Ewing at Burlington Township. Lawrence at Willingboro, and Holy Cross at Robbinsville. And then we'll come back on Saturday with Allentown at Trenton, West Windsor Plainsboro South at Steinert, and West Windsor Plainsboro North at Princeton. So some interesting games coming up this weekend.
Yeah, let's start with Holy Cross at Robbinsville. The Lancers are 4-4, 3-1 in Liberty. Robbinsville's 3-5, 1-3. This could be a tough game for the Ravens because Holy Cross is still hoping for a share of the Liberty title. If they can win and Pemberton loses, they'll tie. That would put them in a tie. Robbinsville would love to spring an upset because the Ravens, they had that 3-game winning streak, and now they've lost 2 straight. And they would like to finish at 500 if possible, and they'd need 2 wins to do that. And, you would hate for them to go out of this season on a losing streak after they finally got some respect back with that 3-game winning streak. So Robbinsville's going to be fired up. Holy Cross is always a good team, though. I mean, their record's 4-4, but they get good athletes there. So this is going to be a real test, and we'll see how Robbinsville can handle it. Ewing at Burlington Township. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Blue Devils. Ewing's 4-4, 2-2 in the Patriot. Burlington Township 6-1 and 4-0. If Township wins, they lock up the Patriot title. And they're also hoping they can sneak past Allentown and get into 4th place and get a home game in Central Jersey Group 4. But Ewing is in the playoffs, and they would like to play spoiler here after that tough loss against West Windsor North. So we'll see how that plays out too. West Windsor South 0-8, 0-4 in the Colonial in the Valley Division. Steinert's 5-2 and 3-0 in the Valley. Steinert's got all kinds of things to play for here. They're coming off their first loss in 5 games. But they're still in the running for a home playoff game if they can get a win. It's senior day. That's always a big deal, and they have a lot of seniors.
They're one of the few teams that haven't played that 8th game yet either, so this is it's their 8th game.
Right, and they're in first place in the Valley Division. They can win the division title outright with a win then Saturday and then against Hamilton on Thanksgiving. So, West Windsor South is winless, but I don't think there's any chance that Steiner's going to look past them. There's just too much to play for. Allentown at Trenton. Allentown's 4-4, 1-3 in the Colonial. Trenton's 5-3 and 1-3. This should be a great game. I mean, there's nothing at stake as far as playoffs. They both play their 8 games. There's no chance that either of them getting the division title, but they're two of the best teams in the area. So it'll be interesting to see what Trenton's defense can do. They've been studs all year against Jordan Winston and company. Trenton, what we said, they've won 3 straight, and Allentown's coming off its nice win. So both teams are going to want to try to get maintain their momentum and build on their momentum going into the playoffs. West Windsor North, 4-4. I did not write down their division record. Sorry about that. At Princeton, 4-4. West Windsor's clinched the playoff berth, so this really doesn't mean much in terms of that. But Northern's won 2 straight and 3 out of 4, so they want to keep the train rolling into the postseason. Princeton has a lot to play for in terms of their seniors. They had a horrible sophomore year. They made the playoffs last year. They won last week. They love nothing better to end their career with 3 straight wins and finish with a 6-4 record, giving them 2 straight winning seasons. Last game, Lawrence at Willingboro. Cardinals are going to try to salvage their season. Chimeras have struggled this year. They're only 2-8. Or I'm sorry, 2-6. 2-6. Lawrence is 0-8. Willingboro's 2-6. Lawrence is coming off its closest loss of the season, 20-13 to Hightstown. So maybe they can build off of that a little bit. We'll have to see. And I guess finally is the Friday night game, Hamilton at Hightstown, and Hamilton needs this win to kind of secure a playoff berth. I think Rahway could jump over them if they don't win. Hightstown, though, has been playing pretty gutsy lately, so it's not going to be an easy test for the Hornets. But if they can just get a little bit of offense the way their defense is playing, they should be okay. But that's going to be a really key game, and Hightstown would love to play spoiler in that one. So that's about it, Sean. Another interesting week coming up.
All right. Any notes to mention in the PowerPoints before we get going here?
Yeah. Well, let's just run through them real quick. It looks right now 8 teams from Mercer are in. Central Jersey 3. Hopewell went from 2nd to 4th with 107 points. Could hold on to a home playoff game. South Plainfield's in 6th, and they're 10 behind Hopewell. But they're playing winless North Plainfield, so I don't think that's not going to get them enough points to jump over the Bulldogs. Ewing stayed in 7th place, picked up 7 residual points to give them 66. So they appear to be in, and their seeding could change a little bit. And Hamilton vaulted into 8th place with their win over Nottingham. So they could even move past Ewing if they can get a win on Friday night. Central Jersey Group 4, Allentown's on a yo-yo. They've gone from 4th to 7th to 4th in the past 3 weeks. They have 108 points. They're 7 ahead of Burlington Township. But as we said, Township's game counts toward power points. So the Redbirds can only get residual points since they played 8 games. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out. Steiner went from 3rd to 7th with 99 points. They're definitely in the playoffs. And this game counts for them. So a win could put them anywhere from 6th to 4th, depending on what happens with teams in front of them. I mean, there's guys out there that can tell you exactly what happens, but I just don't have time to sit around and look at all who's playing who and everything like that. So, but if they get 4th, that'll give them a home playoff game. Trenton has maintained their hold on 3rd place with 97 points after their 8 games. However, Old Bridge is only 1 point behind them after 7 games. The Knights, though, have a tough matchup against Piscataway, so there's no assurance they'll get a win. So that could come down to residual points to see where the seeding is there. As we mentioned, hard-charging West Windsor North moved past North Hunterdon into 8th place with 80 points. They're 11 points ahead of North Hunterdon, and the only team behind the Knights that have played 7 games is Millburn with 60. So it looks like West Windsor's in, and, as we said, what a great job. And non-public 4, Notre Dame went from 7th to 5th with 124 points. 6th place Seton Hall Prep is 3 points behind them, and they can move ahead of Notre Dame with a win over West Orange, which is only 2-6. So most of the teams are in. It's just a matter of where they're going to end up and who's going to play home and who's going to go on the road.
All right, well, all comes down to this. A couple teams with a lot of things to play for. Again, a reminder, the games on the WBCB Sports Network this weekend. Friday, Northern Burlington at Hopewell Valley at 7 p.m. on 107.7 The Bronx. And we come back on Saturday with Notre Dame at Nottingham, Saturday at 2 p.m. on 107.7 The Bronx. He's Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. This has been Week 9 of the Mercer County Football Show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. We'll see you next week.